Hello, my name is Satan herself, and today I am going to talk to you about the Peggle Masters from Peggle Deluxe. I'm going to share with you my somewhat well-informed but useless, ultimately, opinion, and you can decide whether I am right or very, very wrong. I am going to give you all a little sampling of what I think as both a casual player and a player of challenges, and as a Peggle speedrunner. And I'm going to wager that not as many of you are Peggle speedrunners, so then I think I have immunity from your opinion. Joking, of course. I highly encourage everyone who is watching now to speedrun Peggle. It's really fun. Or at least play. But anyway, if you don't even know what a Peggle is, you're sitting here like, how did I get here? I saw a funky little unicorn or something on the thumbnail, and now I have no idea what's happening. Well, Peggle is a pachinko game. I know, the height of gaming, right? Pachinko game put out by the once great video game developer and publisher PopCap. PopCap used to be really great until it got bought by EA, and then they put out Peggle 2. But we're not talking about Peggle 2 today. You probably know PopCap better for the entire Plants vs. Zombies video game series, which is much more popular and has spawned many more spin-offs than Peggle. However, right now Peggle is like the 20th most active game on speedrun.com, so anyhow. I'm going to take you all through the entire Peggle Deluxe Master roster, starting with Bjorn and ending with Who, as they appear in the game. And I'm going to do them side by side for the casual tier list and the speedrunning tier list, so that you can all get both opinions on each character at the same time. As you can see, we have them all stacked up in a little row down here called Peggler, and we're gonna be moving them to the tier that I think they actually belong in. And yeah, so let's start out with Bjorn. For Bjorn, as a casual player, I think Bjorn goes in C tier. And the reason that I think that is because Bjorn is really great for if you haven't really learned how to bounce things off a peg yet. If you aren't really sure about what the laws of physics are, Bjorn is here to help you. And that means he's really nice for those early game levels where you're still really trying to figure out what's going on, and you don't really know what's going on. And you can make some really cool long shots with Bjorn that you might not be able to otherwise, bounce the peg all the way across the screen from one orange to the next. Pretty fun, I would say. The drawback of Bjorn is just, that's about all that's interesting about him. When you get to later levels, you're going to be like, it's more fun to use these other masters because they actually shake up the gameplay. Bjorn fundamentally doesn't give you anything new that you don't already have yourself in terms of being able to bounce off of pegs into other pegs, because you can already do that. He doesn't really give you anything else. So for casual play, I think that's why he gets demoted down to a C. At the beginning, he's really great. I'd maybe even put him in A tier. Towards the end of the game, you don't really want to use him. Yeah, not so great. For challenges, he can be really good if you have, for certain challenges that involve getting different types of points, because long shots are worth a lot, and ball bucket bounces are worth a lot. But if you know how to do that yourself, you can definitely maximize your point output with different characters. So I think still about a C tier. For speedrunning, also a C. Wow, Bjorn is just really neutral and boring, ain't he? I think Bjorn has very few valid use cases in speedrunning. His biggest one is actually in the level 11.4, Don't Panic, which is the one where you have the little circle in the middle. I'll put a screenshot up of it. And the things on the sides. The things on the sides there prevent you from being able to do straight shots to most of the pegs. And even really, really skilled Peggle players often have a really tough time bouncing off that middle circle into other pegs outside accurately enough to not lose all their balls in the process. And so Bjorn is actually the meta in that level. And it's one of the levels at the very end. It's very hard. It's really great if you can get through it consistently. I mean, if you want to be risky, you can use other characters. Bjorn is pretty much the meta. And so I think that's the only thing that pulls him out from D tier into C tier on speedrunning. Otherwise, he really truly has no use cases. Yeah, he just has one useful spot where you actually do want to use him in Peggle Deluxe. That's it. So good job, Bjorn. got yourself a C. C is for can't be totally useless. Alright, let's talk Jimmy. Jimmy Lightning is obviously the coolest master in Peggle Deluxe. He says radical, he says tubular, he says wicked, and those are all pretty fun things to say. But honestly, I think he sucks ass. If you're a regular in my stream, you know the phrase stupid multi-ball, and I think that's pretty much how I feel about him. However, for casual play, he's not actually the worst, so I'm going to put him in a high D tier. The reason that I'm putting him there and not in Agony is because in casual play, the extra ball might get you nothing. It might just fly up out there and, you know, it might even pop into the free ball. Like, the worst it can do is just kind of be there. It can't mess up your stuff. So, that's not too bad. It's fine. Yeah. You know what? So, yeah. For challenges, Jimmy's not good. There's pretty much no way you want to use Jimmy in challenges, so he's basically irrelevant there, and that definitely cements his position in D tier. And then for speedrunning, I'm going to put Jimmy also in D tier. Seeing a theme? The reason that Jimmy goes in D tier is just because there are characters that are worse than him. He really does actively suck in Peggle Deluxe speedrunning, because there are things called openers. At the beginning of certain levels, you can aim all the way to the left or the right, and then maybe press some keys in a predetermined way, and then have the ball go on a certain pattern all the way down. Because Peggle physics are deterministic, which means that if you do the same thing every time, the same thing's going to happen with the ball and the rest of the pegs, as long as you don't have any moving pegs that it's going to hit. And Jimmy messes this up frequently. I often die in Jimmy's stages in Deluxe because he's ruining one of my openers. And so stupid multi-ball is where that comes from. Yeah, stupid multi-ball. Now let's talk about CatTut. CatTut is going to be our first member of the Agony tier in casual play. And I know this is kind of unfair to CatTut, and I know a lot of people will argue against me for this, but I just think CatTut is so uninteresting when it comes to casual play. Like, Bjorn can get you those free balls because you can aim down into the thing, and you're at least feeling like you're doing something. For CatTut, you just might get an extra free ball, and you might get an extra peg at the bottom if you're lucky. You know, it doesn't feel like you're doing anything. And so you don't get that, like, sense of agency and the sense of really getting better at the game. The one thing is that CatTut probably makes you more likely to complete a stage than Jimmy does, and so that's an argument for maybe putting them in the same tier. But nah, I think CatTut really deserves the Agony tier as a casual runner. And then for challenges, CatTut isn't the worst possible, but he's still pretty bad. For speed running, CatTut goes in D tier, slightly above Jimmy. And the reason why is because CatTut is less likely to interfere with your openers. It still is pretty likely because openers usually have ball bucket timings associated with them as well. But they probably can be modified for CatTut, or you can just ignore the ball bucket timings, and the ball then will just bounce the exact same way. And it won't be a problem. Because you're not spawning a second ball suddenly into the mix. So that is the only reason that CatTut gets a spot better than Jimmy Lightning, because it just doesn't interfere with openers nearly as much as he does. CatTut still sucks though. Sure, he might make you more likely to complete a level, but at high levels of play, you're going to be not worrying about your free ball bucket quite as much. And in fact, it messes up your free balls timing. Like, if you're a really good player, you know where the free ball bucket's going to be, and you know where it's going to be able to catch the ball. And CatTut just kind of ruins that. And also, when the ball starts bouncing on the pyramid, it's so slow. So it's a very slow master as well. CatTut just fundamentally makes the game slower. I don't think you could run the game with CatTut only faster than you could in any other category with the same amount of levels in Peggle. So, no thanks, CatTut. You are bad. Alright, Splunk. Splunk is pretty great, and in casual play, he's really fun. Or they. Honestly, headcanon, Splunk is non-binary. I have some headcanons that will come up through the course of this video, and you're just gonna have to deal with those. They're really fun to use. It's just a big old blast. It gets all the pegs around the grain. And it doesn't really interfere with openers very much. But that doesn't really matter for casual play. For casual play, it's just a big old blast, and that's fun. You know what? That's fun. Unfortunately, Splunk's levels are not as catered to him in certain ways, I think, in Deluxe. I do think Made in Space, and the first one, 4-1, I'll put those up on the screen so that you know what I'm talking about, do benefit a lot from Splunk's power specifically, but the other ones I think are a little bit less suited to them, but that's okay. Ultimately, Splunk is really fun in Peggle Deluxe. If you play the whole game with them, you will be pretty happy. If you play their levels with them, you will be pretty happy. It's just a fun power, straight up. For speedrunning, Splunk gets a B in Deluxe. The reason why is that Splunk is pretty solid. Like, they are definitely not a bad master whatsoever, but they're just not quite as good as certain other masters for completing certain levels. The most outstanding use case that Splunk has is the very last level of the game, 11-5. If you're playing that in a category that allows you to choose your master, or if you're playing it with only Splunk, you can get both greens in that side of the helix, hit one, then hit the other, and that clears pretty much the whole helix in 2 shots. And it does it pretty quick, as long as you don't have to reset 40,000 times. My last PB, I had to do that in, oh well. So that's pretty awesome. And that's Splunk's pretty outstanding use case in Peggle Deluxe Speedrun. Otherwise, they're fine. There are better characters, and that's why there'd be pretty much just because there are better characters. Alright, let's talk Claude. Claude, our favorite Frenchman. We want to simmer him in a big old pot, boil him up, eat him alive, perhaps. But we would do that if he was a real lobster, but he's a fictional lobster that hails from France, so we will treat him as a sapient. For casual play, I think Claude is a good old B tier. He's kind of fun, you know, like flipping around the ball can be really entertaining, especially if you can get a giant shot with it, you know, rack up the points, try to get, like, you know, half the board cleared in one. You know, that's really fun as a casual player. And it's a very intuitive mechanic for a pachinko game. You know, there's 2 flaps on the side, you flip them up. It's just like pinball. So, you know, it fits really well in the game. It's fun for casual play. Challenges, Claude can also be really good in certain challenges. So I would say that that does not detract at all from his rating. For speedrunning, this is probably the take that I'm the least sure about. I don't use Claude a lot for speedrunning, but people who do, people who play Claude %, kind of swear by him. It started out as a meme. In the Peggle speedrunning community, there was kind of a meme for a while where you'd run the game only using Claude the whole time, and everybody was just racing to see who could do it the fastest. And then eventually, people started to like him. This is probably the opinion I'm least informed about, but I'm going to put him as a solid B tier, right above Splunk. And I'm going to explain why. The detractor of Claude versus Splunk is that Claude's power is slower. Just flipping around the ball a bunch can often add a lot to your time if you're not very good at it. However, if you're really good at it, Claude opens up a lot more options than Splunk does. He can really get certain pegs in certain levels that are very, very difficult to catch. He can rack up the points and get you lots of extra free balls. It just depends on how you use him. It's one of the most skill-based powers in the game, and so I'm putting it at B tier just because you could, depending on who you are, Claude's basically a D tier or an S tier, or anywhere in between. He's kind of the chameleon of the speedrun master tier list. All right, Renfield. Renfield. As a casual player, I think Renfield's super fun. I'm gonna put him in A tier, just below Splunk, but not by much. the ball just comes back down from the top of the screen, wherever it falls down, at the bottom of the screen, and it just goes another round and it adds to your points. So there are certain levels where Renfield can give you tons and tons and tons of points, and you'll just get like 2 or 3 free balls, and that's super fun. It's a really, really great casual power for that. Also, if you didn't notice, going through the game casually, there's a secret mechanic to Renfield. The secret mechanic is that he actually has a little bit of Master Who in him. When the ball comes back down from the top, the game calculates, using an algorithm, what a good shot for it to do is. It won't be quite as good as a Who shot, but it will get you something good. It'll probably get you a lot of points, or an orange, or a free ball, or multiple of those things. And that means that you're probably going to get a pretty good second shot with Renfield, even if your first shot is bad. And sometimes I even go for him just because of that. And then speedrunning, Renfield, I go back and forth on this one. I'll put Renfield, I think an A tier for this, just because of that Who mechanic. You might, if you come back from my Peggle Knights tier list video, there may be a slightly different ranking for certain characters. Spoiler alert, Renfield will have one. The Who mechanic actually makes Renfield really, really useful to speedrunning. There are certain challenges in speedrunning categories where he could be a meta. And like, actually, I'm gonna put high B tier. High B tier. Just because the only reason that I changed that is because Renfield isn't super reliable because of its Who element, and the fact that sometimes when it hits the bottom of the screen, it can go in a direction you didn't predict because of the ball bucket, or some other bouncing factor that you didn't predict. It might come back off the top of the screen in a different place than you expected it to. However, because of its Who-like nature, Renfield is really good at getting a lot of the little pegs that you wouldn't really have a strategy for getting otherwise, and that can make levels way faster. Also, you know, it's a second shot without spending a ball, which makes you much more likely to win levels, even if the shot isn't that great. It could even get you a free ball, which nets you an extra shot, just by virtue. So Renfield is pretty good, but a little inconsistent, so that's where the B tier is going to come from. Now it's time for my favorite master, Warren Rabbit. Okay, casually, Warren is not that bad. I'll have to give it to the Warren lovers. Casually, Warren's pretty fun. I'd put him actually even above Claude in B tier. The mechanic of Warren is that when you hit the green peg, it comes up with a little spinner, and then it spins, and you see what power you get. And that's pretty fun. You know, casually, you're like, what am I gonna get? Because either it's gonna be triple score, which triples your score, which could be really fun because you could get a decent shot and then you could get tons of free balls or a big high score. There's Magic Hat, which I think is my personal favorite. It adds a little hat onto the ball, which increases its hitbox on the top significantly, but doesn't change the way it bounces off of pegs, which means that you can, like, have your ball fly under a bunch of pegs and it can get them. You know, if you have a big mess of pegs, like it in 10-2, perhaps, or 8-3, I'll put them on the screen so you know. You could put them into the center of the screen and it would just get everything, you know? So that's pretty fun. And then finally, the last square is one of the other master's powers. So you could get, you know, a space blast, or a multi-ball. And that's pretty fun. Especially if combined with Magic Hat, sometimes those can produce some really fun shots. Also, Warren gets a high B tier because of his use in challenges. Challenges Warren actually does shine in. If you're willing to grind it out and get triple score in a score challenge, you can probably make Warren, like, win that challenge. In score challenges or duels, because you have to beat the other master's score. So that keeps him in high B tier. Speedrunning wise, I don't like Warren as much. In fact, the tier's gonna look a little bit different. I'm gonna call it triple score. Because wowie, zowie, he triples your score. I'm gonna let me, from a PB attempt, show you why I don't like it. I don't need to even say anything after this clip.
Not happy. Oh, spooky. Fascinating. I don't think I've ever gotten that here. Also super annoying. Very much not the place I want to spook in. Oh, great. God, I hate Hat. So much. Warren just makes me so upset. If he doesn't make y'all upset, he should. Great. Not like I needed that free or anything, right? Ugh. I know it might do that. Yep. Warren is just destroying me. Oh. Yeah. Y'all! What is happening? This run was so good. I hate Warren so much. I hate him so much. He just messed up the fucking opener. I hate him so much. I really, really do. God. Look at that. I'm in the fucking red now. What the hell? This is not fair. At all. Why did they make this power like this? It's so shitty. It's the worst ever! With almost any other power, I don't think I'd have to even worry about this stage. Really? 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 Oh. Am I gonna have to reset this run? Yep. Yep. Okay, I'll give it one more. Fine. But I think I'm gonna have to reset this run. Oh my god, I was 5 minutes ahead!
Yeah, there you go. So, I did say I wasn't gonna say anything, but I'll explain real quick. Warren's triple score is absolutely horrendous in speedrunning. In speedrunning, you're generally not trying to get shots, necessarily, that are gonna get you enough points to net you a free ball. You might be trying to do that, but it's very unlikely that you're trying to do that. And when you're trying to do that, you're probably trying to do it at the very beginning of the level, and there's no guarantee necessarily that the green peg is going to be available on your first or second shot. In addition, you don't know what power you're gonna get. Do you see why that's so horrible for speedrunning? You have no idea what you're gonna get when you hit that green peg. So you can plan a shot to be good for, you know, Magic Hat or one of the other powers, but you could get triple score, or you can plan a shot that would be great for triple score, but then you get, you know, Bjorn's super guide power, and you're like, well, you know? So that's why this tier is now no longer called Agony, but is called Triple Score. Warren gets to sit in it, and spoilers, he will sit in it alone. Also, I know that I did the order wrong. We're supposed to do Tula first, but Tula's just so good that we're gonna do it now. Tula. Alright, Tula, as a casual player, is gonna go in a low A tier. Tula's super fun. She gets all the green pegs, not all the green pegs, but a certain proportion of orange pegs, sorry, around the green peg when you hit the green peg. And that's really fun. You just get oranges from her. You can also, towards the end of the game, start strategizing about when do I want to hit the green peg. because maybe I want to clear some of the easier oranges first, and then hit the green peg, so that I can get the really hard oranges that I might not be able to get otherwise. The only drawback of Tula is that the proportion of lit pegs is pretty low once you've gotten a bunch of oranges. At the end, it'll only hit one orange peg, and that can be really useful if your orange peg is in a really, really inconvenient spot. But otherwise, that's not super fun to have at the end of the level. Challenges-wise, Tula's also really good. She can get lots of points for points challenges. She's really great for clear 35, 40, 45 orange pegs because the proportion is still really high there, so she just clears a bunch of them in one go. Pretty solid for challenges. Good stuff, good stuff. For speedrunning, Tula will represent our first A tier. Lately, actually, Tula has been rising in the meta, speedrunning-wise, because of her incredible reliability and strategic potential. However, she's not quite as effective as certain other masters so far, so I'm going to put her in A tier. But if there were other masters in this tier right now, know that she would be high. She's very effective in getting those last orange pegs that you don't know how to get otherwise, and if you can hit it at the beginning, you also wipe out a bunch of orange pegs immediately, which saves you a lot of time. It does not interfere with openers, which is fantastic. Tula is our favorite lesbian. We love her so much. Thank you for making our speedruns easier. Alright, Cinderbottom. Cinderbottom, casually, is so much fun. The power is that you get a fireball on your next go, and the fireball just shoots through pits. It doesn't bounce off of them, it just shoots through it. And not only that, but the ball bucket gets a cover on it, so if you have good timing, you can bounce on the ball bucket, and then it'll go through even more pegs. And maybe, if you even have even better timing, it'll go back into the bucket, getting you another free ball, and getting you hot stuff as a score bonus, which is super fun. Cinderbottom, it kind of can't be understated how much fun Cinderbottom is on a casual playthrough, and how getting to Cinderbottom levels is some of the most fun parts of Peggle. Cinderbottom levels, though, without Cinderbottom, are a pain. Which also makes Cinderbottom very, very crucial in terms of his use cases. But we aren't going to get to that yet. But when you do have Cinderbottom, you feel like you have a lot of power in your hands. It has a lot of agency as a master, which is super fun for kind of any use case. Cinderbottom is just excellent in Deluxe. One of the best, that's for sure. Speedrunning, Cinderbottom earns his spot in S as well. There are so many use cases for Cinderbottom. At the very end of the game, he's the meta for the 2 first stages. Because of how obstructive the pegs are in your way. So you want to shoot through them. And Cinderbottom is really great for that. As I said, there's a lot of agency in using Cinderbottom, which is fantastic for speedrunning. Because you really feel like you can control what you're doing. And you can maximize Cinderbottom to amazing effect. He is definitely a skill-based master, which is what we like to see. The fastest runs in Peggle Deluxe use Cinderbottom almost all the way through. He is just stellar master, almost unrivaled. However, he's Master Who. Finally, Master Who, the final master that appears in the game Peggle Deluxe, is also an S tier in casual play. I do not think that there is a great way to rate these two against each other within the S tier as a casual tier, because they're just different types of fun entirely. Cinderbottom is maximum control. You know where it's going to go, you know how you're going to fire it, and what timing you need to make it the best. Master Who is the complete opposite of that. Master Who is relinquishing control entirely. When you point to somewhere and you shoot with a Zen ball, which is his power, the game will calculate the best possible shot based on points in that area, based on points and free balls. It's not quite known how they are related to each other, but based on points and free balls, where you shoot. And because orange pegs are worth a lot of points, there are lots of cases where Master Who will get a ton of orange pegs, and he'll probably also get the purple peg, which is the point boost peg, racking you up tons of points in a single shot. He might also get you a free ball, which is super fun. He might come up with shots you would have never ever thought of in your life. And that's what makes it so much fun casually. Just pointing and clicking and seeing what the hell's gonna happen next. really enjoyable, super fun time. Challenges, Who is also really solid. I forgot to mention, Cinderbottom is also really great for certain challenges. But Who is very solid. Because he maximizes for points, he's really great for point challenges, and especially duels. Really solid master. Then for speedrunning, Who also is in the S tier, and I'm going to put him a little bit below Cinderbottom. This is a real rating. Because Cinderbottom is maximum control. And in speedrunning, I think that's a little bit more valuable than Who. However, Who is still really great. Playing the game through Who, you're going to beat it really fast because Who just gives you better shots in general. And also, even though Who doesn't have as much control, you can learn how to harness the algorithm's power to make it the fastest possible for you. For example, you can aim near a purple so that it will just get the purple and then it will get all the oranges around it to maximize it. Instead of aiming at oranges and then maybe it veers off towards the purple where you don't want it to go. Also, getting a purple at the beginning of the level and one at the end of the level is optimal for Who, and that's a really fun strategic move because at the end of certain levels, Who could get a bunch of pegs that are really hard to get for you, just like right away. That's why he's the meta for 11.3, which is the final one of the master levels that we haven't talked about yet. Oftentimes, there's a lot of pegs at the bottom around 11.3, and you only have a couple of shots left. And Who can get all of those just by coming up with a shot that you don't have the mental capacity to be able to make up yourself, or the physical skill, perhaps. So Who can be really, really, really helpful for speedrunning scenarios because of that. And those are my tier lists. To review my casual tier list, we've got CatTut at the bottom, Jimmy, Bjorn, Claude, Warren, Tula, Renfield, Splunk, Who, and Cinderbottom. And then in our speedrunning tier, we have Warren in the bottom. Big no. Triple score sucks. Stupid. Triple score. Then Warren, or then not. Then Jimmy Lightning. Stupid multi-ball. CatTut, Bjorn, Splunk, Claude, Renfield, Tula, Master Who, and Lord Cinderbottom. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and all that BS, because that will help me reach a broader audience, and I would love to make more Peggle content for the rest of y'all. If you disagree with my tier list, feel free to comment. If you agree with my tier list, feel free to comment. I would love to hear everyone's opinions, and I would love to hear an argument with said opinion. Especially because not only do I get to hear those things, but the rest of you do too. You can scroll down in the comments and see people disagreeing with me, and you can come up with your more nuanced, formulated opinion about this topic. You can comment, I love Claude Lobster. I don't care. You can comment, radical. Hooray. There are so many Peggle things, Peggle-related things you can comment for me. Thank you for watching. I have a couple more Peggle videos up, and I hope to have some more up soon. You can also check me out on Twitch. I'm Peggle Speedrunner, as this video hopefully proved well enough to you. And so I would love to see you on stream as well. I stream all the time. Thank you so much for coming to my little video. Bye-bye.